quales defesa frigraque sed bene sum. Benevenisti mihi nominis magistra Aurelia, et hic est echo accidis. So we're going to get into the story of the wedding of Peleus and Thetis. If you'll recall, Nuptiae Thetis et Peli is where we are at. Now, if you like ancient mythological stories and learning a little Latin along the way, then you're in the right place. So hit the like and subscribe button and click the bell so you can get notified when I upload once a week. All right, remember Thetis, that gorgeous sea nymph that Zeus was all verklempt over. He was in love with Thetis. But the problem is, there was a prophecy about Thetis that her son would eclipse or do much more powerful and famous things than his father. So Zeus couldn't at all marry or be with Thetis. He was already married, but he couldn't have babies with Thetis. That would not be good. So what he did was what he thought was the next best thing. Married her off to a human king, a good guy, named Peleus. Okay, now Peleus had to go through this whole struggle in order to get Thetis to even agree to marry him. He had to hold on to her while she went through this host of changing into different critters, birds, snakes, big old trees, and lions and tigers and who knows what else. He had to do it until she just got tired and gave up and said, fine, let's get married. So now we're all happy, and nuptiare di Monte Peleo. They're going to have a wedding on Mount Pelion, which is where Peleus is from. Mount Pelion is up yonder here in Thessaly. Or northern Greece, and Thessaly is a wild place. It's known by the Romans for being a land of magic and witchcraft and scary stuff. Okay, everybody was invited. All the Olympians, that's all that says under here. The Fates, the Muses, Centaurs, Satyrs, Nymphs, all the heroes, any of the beings that you could even think of were all invited to this wedding. So here's a picture. It's actually an engraving of the wedding feast of Peleus and Thetis. This was done in the 1500s. You can find a copy of this at lacma.org. Okay, but you can see there's a big happy party going on here. Omnes invitati sunt praeter discordiam. So everyone was invited. Invitati sunt is your third plural perfect indicative passive verb. And praeter plus an accusative means accept. Except. So everybody's invited to this thing except one person, one goddess. The goddess of discord. In Greek we know her as Eris. We call her discord in Latin. I tend to refer to her as Eris. And how do you think that made Eris feel? I mean, truthfully, who would want this goddess who calls forth war and discord, right? She wanders about, and she's a friend and sister of Ares, so of course she likes chaos and war. With him, she delights in the tumult of war, increasing the moaning of men. And it says that she's insatiable in her desire for bloodshed. And after all the other gods have withdrawn from the battlefield, she still remains, rejoicing over the havoc that has been made. And this is some information that you can find in the Dictionary of Greek and Roman Biography and Mythology by William Smith. It is in the public domain, and you can find it in a lot of places. There is a copy on eris.tufts.edu. So eris iratast. You see over here, eris iratast. She was angry. Now you may be wondering why I say this iratast over here. You see this? And I'm crossing out that E. In epic poetry, there's a thing called elision. And even in the classical pronunciation, the restored classical pronunciation, there's evidence shown that they would elide words that end with certain things like vowels or H's and UM's, AM's, a vowel plus an M, and the next word starts with a vowel. You would elide it. Now typically you would elide and say iratest if this were any other verb. But when the verb is es or est, estis, a form of sum, you go ahead and elide it and get rid of the E instead. So it's iratast. That still lets you know whom or what this word is modifying. It's a feminine, singular, nominative. The only other options would be plural, neuter, nominative, or accusative, but there's nothing going on here that would make it seem plural. So, eris iratast. Yes, she is angry. So, eris consilium habet. Consilium habet. Remember from part 1 of our story when we talked about consilium tuum, your counsel, your plan? Well, now eris is our subject. Eris habet, and H's are very soft if pronounced at all, and UM's, or any vowel plus an M at the end of a word, typically elides if the next word starts with a vowel, and H's aren't necessarily a vowel, but they're just barely said, so you could almost get away with saying conciliabet. But it sounds a little funny. So, eris consilium habet. And you just kind of the M for your pronunciation. So, eris consilium habet. She has a plan. What is her plan? Well, it's certainly to create some havoc, right? So she creates this golden apple. Writes on the golden apple, to the fairest, or to the most beautiful. Sorry, my insulin, my blood sugar is high. She writes on this apple, bellissimae, or others have said pulcherrimae, to the most beautiful, or to the fairest. So she takes this apple, this golden apple that says to the fairest, to the most beautiful, and she throws it down in the middle of the wedding party. And it happens to bounce down at the feet of 3 most powerful goddesses, Hera, Aphrodite, and Athena. And after that, Certamen incipiat. Certamen, the contest, incipiat, begins. Now, how do you imagine? By the way, these beautiful statues are something you can purchase. You see here the link at medievalcollectibles.com. They're beautiful. Ah, pugnant. Pugnant. They fight. The goddesses are fighting and arguing and hollering and fussing. I'm the most beautiful. I'm the most beautiful. Can't be to you. I'm the most beautiful. Who are you, right? And that is where we're going to end this story, because the next part starts, part 3, the Judgment of Paris. Here's a sculpture of him and the information about that. So let me know in the comments, who do you think is going to win of these 3 goddesses? And how do you think they're going to win? If you already know, don't say anything. Don't say anything. But check out part 3 of this story next week. And remember, especially for teachers or those who want to dig into Latin more, that there's going to be a flash lesson that will follow up this story. I'll have that linked below. Remember, like and subscribe, click the bell for notifications, and visit my website for even more educational Latin resources. Gratias tibiago et vale.